Uh, good morning, or it's just past noon. Good afternoon. Got to be correct after all. It's the day after Christmas, and all is well. A Taiwan Christmas. Yeah, we had a great one. So last time I was sharing about. Well, that's a good question. What was I sharing about? About a story. Yeah, everybody has a story. And the other half of the lyrics of the song, I liberated it from. Everybody has a story that would break your heart. And it's a way to make yourself compassionate. It's a tool along the path to compassion, to understand the commonality, to look for the similarities, to overlook the differences, resulting in unity, oneness. We're all in the same boat after all. And something I wrestled with compassion as far as being available. Are you available to those around you? Are you easily approached, easily accessed? I wrestle with this availability because my nature is to not be available. At least not to be too available. How's that? Well, I think this leads to my preferring text over talking, especially on the phone. I don't and haven't ever liked talking on the phone. I need to have eye contact when I'm communicating verbally. Texting is kind of, well, I'm available for a text, as everybody knows. Whether or not I'll immediately respond, whether or not I won't ignore, but how long will it take for me to respond? Just how available I am in that specific context, at that specific time, in my specific mindset, depending on what I was doing. If I'm meditating, of course, I'm inaccessible. But I've learned that a more relaxed meditative style, essentially, I'm in meditation 24/7. But in order to function in the world, if my wife comes by and she sees me in a meditation, she knows that I will sense her, that I will look to her and engage and talk. I'm accessible to her at all times. So it's kind of selective availability, isn't it? And I have a long history with availability and how this concept it's a recurring theme in my life. And I have two particular incidences that are diametrically opposed in most cases about someone that has talked to me about availability and something that's stuck. And that's the key. It's stuck. It's there. About availability. The first is my lovely friend's beautiful young daughter, 15 or 16 years old. And she was very outgoing. And she was a beauty. But she learned how to make herself available when the time was right. When she was in between boyfriends, when looking for a new boyfriend, maybe looking around, shopping, fishing, as I told my young girls, throwing the hook, catching the fish. She would tell me how she did it, how she was able to not wait. She wasn't a waiter. She didn't wait for them to come to her. She saw someone she liked and she goes, "Hi, I'm available." And in a pure innocence, in the most beautiful sense. And this was something that struck me about availability. Are you the kind of person that waves, at least metaphorically waves, and communicates and says, "I'm available"? Or there's something about your demeanor, something about your personality that welcomes, that's approachable. I'm available. And that stuck with me, and that's one side. And the other side is my friend that I hadn't seen for a while, and I saw him, a good close friend, and he seemed so distant and preoccupied. He simply wasn't available for our friendship, at least what had left off the level of friendship we'd had before. And years later, he said to me, "Sorry about those days. I just wasn't available." And being a person that's leans toward unavailability, I really understood and it hit home. Because then it didn't really throw me for a loop that the friendship was not vital as it was before. But I did give some wonder. I did wonder what was going on. And that, as I said years later, he told me, "Sorry, I wasn't available." And then he went on to explain. He felt the need to go farther and explain what was going on in his life at that time. And you know, some people can separate what's going on with how they behave, how open they are, how available they are. They can kind of put their concerns on the back burner. And there's others that it's front and center. And it's personality driven. It's very much about who they are, front and center, and nothing can penetrate. So this is availability. Opening and welcoming, and closed. Repelling. Not attracting, repelling, resisting. Stop. This is as close as I allow you to come. And I certainly can understand that. But 21 years in Taiwan, being a guest, being a visitor, essentially, I'll always be a visitor here. I'll never be Taiwanese. Not because I have no desire to be Taiwanese, but because I've perpetually been seen as an outsider. Color of my skin. Anyway, visiting status, permanent visitor. Which is fine with me, I understand. Being from Hawaii, when there was that schism between Hawaiian not necessarily meant ethnicity, but Hawaiian meant Hawaiian birth. And we kind of extended to Hawaiian at heart. But there was a definite schism between local, born in Hawaii, and an immigrant coming into Hawaii. So I come from this. It's not an alien environment, not an alien concept. That here, Taiwanese means born in Taiwan. Hawaii, really Hawaiian means born in Hawaii. Then we have Hawaiian, which is ethnically un-Hawaiian. But as an inherently, naturally unavoidable, an introvert, in other words, essentially an introvert, who was a teacher, university teacher, so there was a certain amount of extrovert required to do the job, which was never a problem. But once outside the classroom, my introverted nature would rule. I'd be exposed, available, in other words, for certain periods of time, and then I need downtime, time to recover. Lived alone, lived kind of remotely from a lot of other people. So I've kind of nurtured, I kind of created an environment that consisted of non-availability. But I did also start to think about this and extend when I was in public places. So non-available when I was in my private arena, when I was out and about. Classroom, it started in the classroom, extended to teacher meetings and things that were required by the powers that be at my job, meetings, to be accessible. But this started to expand in me when I appreciate being in Taiwan. I appreciate everything that Taiwan has given me. Taiwan essentially has provided for me from my first day of arrival 21 years ago. Vastly approaching 22. Or is it 23? I'm losing count. That's a good thing. No need for measurement after all, is there? But if I was on the street and someone came up to me, someone had the guts to approach me and try to strike up a conversation, maybe practice their English, maybe they're just curious about foreigners. And no matter what I learned and what I deemed necessary, appropriate, was that if I was approached, I would stop. No matter where I was going, how urgent I thought the appointment was, I would stop and engage with that person until they wanted to leave. So I literally would just stop. And I think it always helped that I'm a slow mover. No one had to race to overtake me quite easily. I'm usually can watch people fly by because I have no need to hurry. I got rid of hurrying a long time ago by simply, I love timeliness. I'm always on time, but I'm early. I leave early so that I'm never squeezed. To be somewhere in a limited amount, and somewhere that wouldn't require that I hurried up, that I rushed, that I worried about it on being on time. I just dismissed all of that by simply being early. And waiting's never been a problem because I watch when I wait. I watch the people. One of my favorite habits, my hobby, when I'm out and about, I watch behavior, I watch people. I just read people, watch them, enjoy them like rats in a maze sometimes it seems, such a hurry to scuttle here and scuttle there. And find it entertaining and amusing, essentially. So it's a hobby. I like to watch. I like to be an observer. This has been my saving grace in Taiwan. My weak language skills are supplemented by my watching. I watch what they do. I watch how they get the butt. I watch all. So I learn by watching. And not only do I learn, but I appreciate, I enjoy observing. So it's a kind of continual. I was always a self-observer, and to look out and observe the other is fun. But again, I made myself available. If someone approached me, I'd learned not long ago that I'm not an initiator. The world comes to me. Every time I try to go to the world to be directed, to be focused, to be pushed to excel or accomplish, it was all for naught. In fact, it's for sure counterproductive. I paid the price, sometimes a very dear price, for engaging, for chasing, for yearning, for desiring. Whether it's position, recognition, material, any of the impetus towards these things was just counterproductive to who and what I am and what I wanted to continue being. But available if approached. And at the same time, my downtime. If I had my phone, cell phone, it's always the ringer's off. So if I do get a call, unless I'm expecting one, I'll put and seldom I allow myself. It's interesting. It's usually for mail, or if someone is delivering, you need to let them know that you're available at home, and I'll take those calls. I'm selective, always selective. But again, receiving, not instigating, not initiating. So here's my study in availability. Okay, all the way from hi, I'm available, from my sweet young friend's daughter. Hi, I'm available. And she's so precious and innocent, And my friend apologizing years later for simply not being available. And it was available to me. He was available to whatever else was going on in his life, but he just was not available to me at that particular time. So this is my study in availability. And the continuation, it's a recurring theme in my life. Availability, the conundrum of availability. And I started to look for a link in compassion. Does compassion entail me to be always available, always open? I think not. Does it include Being approachable when I'm out and about? Yes, yes. When I'm out and about, I figure I'm fair game. I'm out in their turf. And if I really want to not be available, headphones or earpods with music can kind of send a message, a subliminal message, or an obvious message maybe to those that are more sensitive, that I don't really want to be interrupted. So that's a way to wrestle with availability. But again, I'm quick to take off the headphones. I'm quick to take out the earbuds if someone does want to engage with me. I feel that it's a social obligation. Taiwan has given me so much, and I've given time and effort in my teaching of their young for many years, but I still need to give more of myself, which includes making myself available. But the saving grace for me is the necessity. I need to reflect. I need to go inward. I need to be alone. I need to nurture. I need to recharge my batteries to go out because, boy, the world bombards on me. I'm way too sensitive for my own good. I receive too much and am not able to just simply ignore or bounce it back. I take it to heart. I carry it with me. Now, I've learned by using the violet consuming flame to burn personal karma and any karma that I've anonymously absorbed from those around me. I know what to do with it. I know how to burn it to cleanliness, to purity. I know, I train. And it's both a conscious and a subconscious effort to rid myself of unwanted feelings, thoughts, conditions. I know how to do that. And I practice it. And at first it took diligence. It took to become innate, to become a habit. Took effort, conscious effort. And now it's just a matter of simple visualization. And to truly be able to let it go. I would be hard pressed to think of 3 words that are more meaningful and more a part of my life than let it go. If I had to teach and they said 5 words or less, let it go. Some would say be here now, and that maybe is second, but before you can be here now, you can't hold on, let it go. So it's kind of sequential to me. So if you gave me 6 words, I would say, let it go, be here now. 4 words, don't worry, be happy. I love that song. Don't worry, be happy. Because happiness, after all, is simply a choice. If you allow something or someone else, if you depend on that for your happiness, trust me, you'll be disappointed. You'll spend a lot of time unhappy. But if you consciously choose to be happy, it's simply a choice. You can be happy in the harshest conditions, the harshest circumstances that the changing nature of life will certainly bring your way. Everyone has a story that will break your heart, after all. And knowing that's enough, we don't have to listen to all the stories. We have our own stories after all. But just simply having the grace of presence to recognize that everyone has a story. Everyone has a story that would break your heart. Everyone has a story that would fill you with joy. Everyone has a story that would put you to sleep. Everyone has a story that would wake you up. So coming back to compassion, which is what I'm working on, is right in front of me currently, and hence the talks about compassion. Compassion, to be a compassionate being, does not mean that you have to be accessible, readily accessible. It just means that you have to breathe. You have to reconcile. You have to come to terms with duality. See the unification, the underlying loveliness, if you will, of our condition, our shared condition. And within this understanding, within this practice of eliminating anything that's divisive and accepting the oneness, to look in another's eyes is the same as looking in your own eyes. That humanity is universally shared. So I was really considering myself, do I have to be more available to truly practice compassion? Do I have to do anything? Does compassion mean that I have to help through finances or through actions or deeds? And that's a choice. If you choose to get involved, if you choose to not get involved, if you choose to offer your love and understanding unconditionally without sullying it with your own moral code. Does loving everyone mean you have to help everyone? Well, through the simple love, I think there's no greater help than love, than being compassionate, by accepting. And this acceptance doesn't mean that you only can see good. This acceptance is good and evil, sad and happy. It's unconditional. As soon as you put your take on any of it, it ceases to be pure. It's tainted with your sensibilities, with your desires, with your ideas, with your words, with your deeds. It's sullied, it's lessened somehow. So, yes, I can continually be partially available, the public persona and the private persona. Funny now, if I'm listening to music, I spend more of my own private time with headphones. I use headphones for spiritual. I just have my spiritual music that moves me, that comforts me, that encourages me, that supports me in right thinking, right deeds, right actions. It's important, but less and less will I wear headphones in public. Maybe an exception would be the 2-hour train ride to Taipei. But that's not really to be unavailable. It's to balance out the talking and the chattering and all the ambient noise around me, because my train time is spent looking out the window, and my meditative music, this time of peace and quiet, and I use it as a thinking, as a I make unproductive time productive to me in my own sense of productivity, if that makes any sense at all. My own sense of productivity is that you have to be doing something. It's about being. You always have to be human beings, not human doings, as one of my favorite things to say. So this time, sharing with you, I'm learning, I'm listening. I'm never quite sure what my mouth will deliver until I get an idea, and we see where we go from there. But I will listen to this. I will take time to experience what I'm putting out there. And as time passes, I feel more and more comfortable with seeing my image, listening to my voice. At first, it was very uncomfortable to watch, particularly listen for some reason. I think, but now I need to evaluate. I need to listen to myself, because if you listen, can be your teacher. Anyone, if you listen, anyone or anything